Hello, I'm Swantje. Today I'm going to walk you through the TraceCase App 2 on iOS. Okay, when you have installed the app, please make sure you got the latest release, because in the version 6.3 we have built in some really nice new features. So if you go to the information button on the bottom right hand bottom, you see in the About dialog the version 6.3, and that's the latest version. So make sure you get it because it has some really interesting features I'm going to tell you today. Here in this About dialog, it's interesting and important to mention that in the documentation folder you have, for instance, the app manual, which you can, for instance, take a look at with the Books app, or you can also have the other documentation. Therefore, that's very helpful. You don't need to go to your PC online or get the documentation out somewhere. You always have it with the app. That's important to know. That's about the About dialog. I'm starting to look into the app with what you can see without connecting the hardware. So you can download the app, it's free, and you can get an idea of what you will be getting if you have the TraceCase. Okay, you see here, no TraceCase connected. We take a look at what we can see without connecting to the hardware. In the app setting dialog, we have one important or interesting part, that is the live monitoring. You can enable this, and I'm going to show you with the connected hardware what this means to you, what this helps you. Then on the left bottom, you have marked in blue the saved sessions. Whenever you download the TraceCase app, you have built in a demo session, which you can see here. So this one helps you to get more ideas about what the app offers to you. If you print on the demo session, you see the details about the capture taken, the time, the location, the user is here included, and very important, there is a point or item which says analysis result. So here you see a quick quality check about the capture taken, and this says contains complete frames only and contains successfully executed APDs only. That is a high quality trace. That means you have complete communication exchange included here, and whenever you have a trace and it is important for you to have either complete information or it's okay to have incomplete frames because you look for an error, that's a quick indication. You can see immediately when you save your trace. Then there's this geo positioning. If you have many traces and went to many spots, this is helpful. Sometimes then exporting data, this might be interesting or difficult for some versions of operating systems, but therefore we switched it off as default feature. You can switch it on or off. Antenna type, we have various antennas to optimize communication captures. Scaling factor is a part of the antenna which comes with it. And then you have the size of the session, which is important, if you want to send data, and the TraceCase version. Okay, so this is an adapter here. This is a support phone. We always have adapters on our phones here. Okay, then you see a photograph on the bottom here. As metadata, you can also store a photo from where you have taken the capture to give more information, to enrich the information about the capture taken. If you want to add a photo yourself, I can edit here this and can take another photo either from the library or make a live photo here, maybe from my reader, and say use this photo. So then you have a second photo here added. I will not save it because it's a demo session, so I just cancel it and say discard. But for you yourself, you can comment this and say, I checked, for instance, add a comment, I checked the session, or comment you want to give to someone else, just save it here. That is all possible here with the demo session. Then on the bottom, you can see various icons here. And I will start from the right-hand side. The most right side icon is like your notepad or so, notebook. If you click on that, you see the communication exchanged. And here you see communication on the frame level. So you see the low-level information. You see the protocol preparation here. And that's very interesting if you need to debug and find errors. And you also see here the timing. So we measure exactly the timings of the communication, starting with a trace then. Then if you activate the middle option here, this is about the APDU, Application Programming Data Units level. So you can see the commands exchanged, commands sent by the follower or reader, and responses by the listener or card. We indicate here the direction of the communication with the P and the L. If you click on one APDU, you get more details here, and we parse. On the one hand, you get the command and the status word, and then you get the timings. You get calculation of reader and card communication. I'll come to that later on. And we parse what is more or less public, so what we can access and which is without your license restriction. And then if you click on the right-hand icon, the percentage sign here, the percentage symbol, then you get the new feature with version 6.3. That is the EMVCO tariff times as far as we can measure them here. So it concludes the beep of a terminal. This is not in here, but we get the calculation of the communication exchange, and you find out what the reader is taking and what the card is taking, which portion of the communication it is taking. Why is EMVCO tariff time important? EMVCO has a 500 milliseconds maximum transaction time, and the terminal has only a very small portion of that. So that way you can see who is consuming the bigger part of the communication, if you're below the threshold or if it's okay. And that's very useful because it's this part you often it's measured in the level 2. It's based on level 2, but it's measured. But if you measure that time only, then you might have to go back to level 1 to increase to optimize the performance. So very important information and at hand, and you can see it even without having a TraceCase hardware connected. So download the app and check it yourself. Here in the TraceCase demo session, you also see a symbol like a electrocardiogram. That is the indication that the analog scope has been is available, that analog scope data have been taken. So the TraceCase has a digital storage oscilloscope, and it can trace a certain amount of data, and it takes the envelope data and records them for further and deeper analysis on the physical layer or the signaling level. Okay, then for the trace, very important. Next symbol from right to left is there is a PDF symbol. That means you can export the capture. That means what you can see here, frame level and APDU level, and then take a look at it with, for instance, on the Books app, and you can see the same information exchanged here or seen with the frame level and APDU level. You can see it here. So you get the you have the picture, the basic information, the protocol log here, the APDUs. You get details on the APDUs, and you get also the frame layer information with the timings and everything. So you get a very detailed information in portable format about the communication. Very handy, very comfortable. And this way you can exchange this with anyone who maybe does not want or cannot download the app, or just has a PC, and you can, for instance, email the information to this person or this partner. On the other hand, you can also send the trace case, which is very small, to someone who has some issue, and make this person trace, and then asked to send back the trace, or the PDF to take a look at that. Okay. And then next is you also have a CSV format, or you have an XML format. The XML format is a part of the TraceCase toolbox, which is an add-on product on the TraceCase itself. And so this is not activated here, therefore you can't export it. XML is very handy and very comfortable and useful for automating further analysis outside or on your proprietary needs. Well, then on the left-hand side, you have a symbol, which is a trash bin. You can delete any sessions because you say rubbish sessions with bad quality or unwanted quality, I just can do without, or save memory. And then you also have the share button. That means you can not only share the PDF, but also share the complete trace. You can use the email app to send it to someone. I can send it to myself, but I'm just... Okay, there I am, and send this demo session or any other information you want to add here. So you can send this file to someone else who can also download the app and then see the exactly the same information you have seen using the app with the PDF sharing also available, or taking a look at the details. And I think that gives you quite a good idea of what you can do with the app already without the hardware connected. Then if you have lots of sessions, which is not the case here, but if you have many sessions taken after a busy day in the field, or also if you have something on the desk you want to trace quickly, then it's very useful to be able to filter the sessions. For instance, to say, I just want to have sessions with unsuccessful APDUs because with unsuccessful APDUs, because I look at the errors. So that way you can I have another session which is not complete here, and you see marked that the filtering is on. Then you set this back. And then the other option is to define the order in which you see it, to be able to scan through the sessions to say, oops, this is the one I want, or this is the date I want to look into, or where I stored, or where I took something. So that is another feature which you can see without the hardware connect. Yeah, you can select sessions, delete them, tidying up, anything else here. Okay, and then if you have the support button here, no Wi-Fi connection because no trace case connected. Okay, so this trace case is not switched on. I switch it on now. Okay, and then let's go to the Wi-Fi menu. So the trace case sets up a small local Wi-Fi, and this is what you connect to. So go to your Wi-Fi settings and scan for this trace case, and then you connect. You make your life easier if you, in the settings, you say you want to reconnect. If it's auto reconnect, if it's available, then it's simpler. Yeah, this is up to you how you handle your Wi-Fi settings with your device. So on the left side, above side, you can see that the trace case is connected and ready. On the right hand side, you see that the battery, it's charging, it's connected, and it's quite okay, it's quite full. And then here in the settings button, you see access point enabled. You can also put the trace case into an existing Wi-Fi network if you are not allowed to set up your own in your environment. That can happen, but here we take the trace case in the default setting here. That's simpler, or that's the default use. Okay, so what you can do now, what you should do before it's wise to do best practice before taking a trace. Two parts. The first part is the trace configuration. If you open that dialog, you find the so-called decoders. That means what is translated. And you have here A, B, and F, the NFC forum types. And then there is also the decoder V, that is vicinity. That is the latest NFC forum type, opening the world to the RFID, to the mainly logistics applications. You can use that way your smartphone as RFID reader, but with the proximity portion of the signaling. But it's the same frequency, so you can detect the communication also for vicinity. And now it is with the new app, it's also translated within the app, not only within the TraceCase UI. So that's new with the latest app. I'll go back to A and B, which is for the typical for payment environments. That was the configuration here. You also have in the dialog the analog scope. So I highlighted that or emphasized that the demo session has an analog scope trace. You get the envelope data, and here you can configure how you capture these data. And there's a default setting which is usually really useful and practical. Sample depth 8K samples. You can go down or up, and that's about the memory space taken then. And then the sample rate is also impacting the memory, the storage capacity, so the memory taken. And you can go from 1/FC to 12/FC, but your recommended maximum is 4/FC. 1/FC is you take a measurement on every oscillation. And that's recommended if you want to take a look into the physical analysis, into the signal analysis. If you go up to 4/FC, it's already quite rough information. So recommendation is 1/FC. And then below that sample rate, you have a trigger. The trigger is defining as to when the analog scope recording will start. Here we have the manual trigger. That's an advanced setting. And for another session or another how-to, you have some preset triggers, for instance, carrier on, if there's any reader communicating, or you have carrier modulated or sub-carrier on when you want to make sure I have my analog scope started when a card or a listener is going to answer something, then when real communication is taking place. That depends on what you're looking at. Set the trigger according to what is your interest, or set a very generic trigger to say maybe PCD active, to say anything is active on the reader side, then I'm happy and I want to take this and want to start from there. That's also possible. Okay, then after that, you also define the trigger precision, either 50% before and 50% after firing the trigger, or then the other situations where you want more after or more before. That depends on the trigger and maybe on the error you have some idea about already. Then you save these settings. So TraceCase configuration, take a look at that. For instance, if you want to take communication V but have forgotten to activate this, you don't see this in the app evaluation, or the other parts as well. If you want to take A but forgotten to activate, then you don't see the translation in the app. Before you do a trace, it is very interesting to see where the communication hotspot or where the sweet spot is, where the best position is to capture a trace. If you have the chance to. If you do undercover tracing, that's usually not possible. But if you have the chance to do so, that's very helpful. And it's also very helpful in the laboratory if you want to find out if card is answering it all, or if a reader is emitting any field at all, if it's active, and therefore we have built in the feature measure field strength. So I take here my antenna, the small one, and you can see that the reader is active, and you can also see if you go far away, the signal is vanishing. If I near, the signal strength is increasing, and if I go too far away, it's going to 0 again. And then also, if you want to make sure or want to check whether the listener or the card is responding, you can near with the card and the antenna, and you see subcarrier signal strength is indicated. That means there's also a response from the card. And you can also see that if you go nearer, it's going to be better. And if you go far away, there's no, it's going to 0 again. Okay, that's very helpful if you are able to access the terminal on the card that way. Okay, yeah, and if you want to find the optimal position, that is your tool to work with. Okay, so we've done the configuration, we've done the measure field strength, and then you can say, I want to start tracing. If you do so, you have now various if you start tracing, you have various options. In the beginning, I said the app settings is live monitoring, and I want to show you what this means. Have to trace this, sorry. So live monitoring, that way you can see immediately if communication is going on. And you can see live in almost real time what the communication is doing. That's very helpful to check whether you can see the part of the communication you're interested in, or at all what is important for you. So you have here the symbol with the running person. That is the live monitoring. If you want to see if the trace case is working at all, you can choose the other symbol, like the piece of paper or notes written. And so in this here in the middle, this button, this goes back to helps you to go to the end of the communication. So to see what is the latest communication displayed here or available if it goes to the end of the display. Okay, so I think that's then you can say stop tracing, and this way it downloads the session. The trace case itself does not store the data, it just saves them for downloading them via the small Wi-Fi setup to your smartphone, which has a lot more capacity to store this. So here in the storage, after downloading, you can add your data, the location, the user, for instance. You can add some comment. You can also add a verdict saying, this is passed because the communication has taken place. I got a beep, that went fine. We haven't set anything for analog scope, that's not available. Geopositioning, I have not activated. And as already pointed out, we can take a photo here and say that's the session we had taken, or that's, I want to add the type of card here. So you can add the photo to the session. You can add several photos to say, I populate this with further information. If I have many traces, this helps me to identify which card I use, which terminal I used, or any detail about the settings to better evaluate or identify the communication partners. Okay, I've saved this. Go back to saved sessions. Now we have, make sure you get the latest session on top. Okay, if this is not many sessions, but if you have many, this is helpful. And then you can take a look again at it. Okay, here you have the size, which is interesting if you want to share information. You can edit this again and add further comments for the webinar, for instance. And then you're ready to go. Okay, and if you have several sessions and you want to select maybe 2 or 3 of them to share them with someone else, you can mark the ones you want to share, and then you can share with them, for instance, send them via email to someone else. So again, when someone has the TraceCase app installed on the smartphone or the tablet, then they can see and do the same analysis than you can do with your setup here. So that is very for quick sharing. Send this to someone to say, can you comment this? Can you take a look? Can you take a look at this or that part of the communication? That is very helpful. Or also the other way around, send the TraceCase to someone else and who is in the field, who has an issue. Please make it capture and send this to me, and then have the same level of information immediately on the smartphone with any PC added here or opened. Okay, then also very nice feature is the here on the left bottom you can see like a switch, like a power button, and you can switch off the TraceCase. And I take my switch off TraceCase. It's a soft button. The TraceCase switch off is a bit takes a bit patience, because you have to press the button a bit longer until it starts to beep very quickly, and then it's switching off. And here you have that was a feature request. You have the chance to switch it off by a soft button, and that's very useful, I think. And you see as result here on the top left hand side, no TraceCase connected. So connection lost because it's switched off. Okay, and then there's also one part which is very nice to see. It's not only about exporting your TraceCase, but it's also about seeing data you have received. Okay, so you can also import the session. If the email account and the TraceCase app are on the same level, on the same container on your smartphone, then you can directly open it with the app, because it also it identifies the format and gives you already available app, and you can see it under saved session. So here I saved, I imported the demo session again. It's marked demo session 2, and you can see everything here. It's you can have the same information as with the demo session pre-installed, which you can see here right now. So I think that's very useful. It's not only exporting and sharing, but also importing. And when you're on the receiving side, this is really a quick, smooth, and direct look into your NFC captures. So I think I'm done with the most parts here. We went there here. Good. So this is about the TraceCase app. Happy to receive further questions or feedback to the app, and happy testing, happy capturing. Thank you.